You're ready.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan and I am the chair of PAVE. And PAVE stands for Promoting Awareness, Victim Empowerment, and we are a registered student organization that works to prevent sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking through education and activism on the UW campus.
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm the finance coordinator for PAVE. Thank you for taking the time to consider PAVE for eligibility to apply for funding through the GSSF. PAVE has a history of competent and responsible governance, and we are and have been in good standing with both the policies and financial procedures of ASM and the university. Through successful leadership and commitment to PAVE's mission, we have not intentionally violated any ASM or UW policy or any state or federal laws.
PAVE's programming and direct services are all targeted towards UW students and are designed in a way that focus on college-age students specifically. Since the culture on campus varies from that of the general community, our services are intended to reach UW students in a way that meets our specific needs here on campus. UW students are the focus of PAVE's programming and direct services, since we plan our programming and direct services specifically to meet the needs of these students. As you can see on the handout you passed around, UW students are the beneficiaries of 96.3% of PAVE's programming and 99.7% of PAVE's direct services.
PAVE has a strong history of fiscal responsibility, and throughout our time as a GSSF group, we have never overspent our budget and have always consistently provided the programs and services for which we are granted funding.
One of PAVE's main specific and identifiable direct services is our peer education program. During the last fiscal year, PAVE reached approximately 1,600 UW students through our peer education workshops that we present all over campus. Students who have completed the peer education training program facilitate these workshops throughout the course of the fiscal year to all different sorts of groups and students on campus. During these workshops, students are asked to engage in a discussion regarding the cultural environment that surrounds sexual violence and brainstorm steps they can take to make campus a safer place. Students leave these workshops with information about campus and community resources on sexual violence, and they also walk away with information on how they can work toward preventing sexual assault, how they can talk to their peers about these difficult issues, and how they can support a friend who may have experienced sexual assault, domestic violence, or stalking. These workshops are also tailored to meet the needs of specific groups and students on campus. For example, in the past, PAVE has created workshops to focus on the LGBT community, communities of color, and media portrayals of violence.
Another important direct service PAVE provides for the campus community is our resource and reference library. The evaluation coordinator closely tracks and updates the library and makes an effort to find reading material that is of interest to students. All the books and DVDs in the library have been student selected, and many students have expressed appreciation for the variety of titles available. On our college campus means the issues of sexual violence are relevant to all students, and our library selection reflects this. Last year, over 140 students checked out materials from our library, demonstrating that this is a well-utilized service. We also offer an online catalog of our library on our website, so students who want more information and might not be ready to come into the office can access those without coming in.
PAVE also provides office consultation time to all students on campus. PAVE staff members spend over half of their assigned hours in the PAVE office and are always available to meet with students by appointment as well. Students are welcome to come into the PAVE office to learn more about sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking, and take advantage of the safe space that is provided, learn more about volunteer opportunities, and also resources that are available on campus that any students can take advantage of. The safe space that the PAVE office provides is very important for students on campus to be able to access, because oftentimes the climate that our campus provides isn't a safe space and isn't supportive of survivors. So having the PAVE office there is necessary for students to be able to access. All of the PAVE staff members are trained on how to handle a wide variety of requests that students come into the PAVE office with. And it's the only space on campus that students can come and talk to peers specifically about sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking.
Finally, the last direct service that PAVE provides is media advocacy. This is led by the PAVE Communications Coordinator, formerly known as the Media Advocate, as well as her team of her media team, which is composed largely of volunteers. They operate with the goal of maintaining a media presence that combats, creates supportive culture, and makes information accessible to the community. Most students who contact PAVE for questions concerning sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking in the media who are not actively involved in PAVE, yet they know that it's a reliable source for accurate information. Both the Badger Herald and the Daily Cardinal are popular newspapers that reach a wide array of student populations, and they utilize this media service, and as a result, thousands of students learn more about sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking. PAVE also has an active Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr website that serve as alternate avenues for students to become educated on topics of sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. All of our services are available on request or during our regular office hours held for a minimum of 40 hours per week in our office in a student activity center. If our office hours are not compatible with the student schedule, we're always available by appointment to accommodate those students with needs. PAVE is open to all students on campus. We have no membership fee, and all meetings are open to volunteers. All students are welcome to join the listserv to receive emails about opportunities to get more involved with PAVE. Similarly, over 90% of students who attended a PAVE workshop last year were not otherwise involved with PAVE.
As the handout that we provided you all shows, direct services are the primary focus of PAVE. Throughout the course of the last fiscal year, we provided 286 total programs and services. 259 of these, or 90.6% of these, were direct services, and 27, or 9.4%, were other PAVE programs. The amount of time PAVE staff spent working on direct services composed 71% of our total staff time. PAVE staff has worked during the course of the last fiscal year. PAVE staff worked 6,223.5 hours, and 4,447.75 of these were spent on direct services. All of the PAVE staff positions are required to spend over half of their staff hours on office consultation time, and the peer education and peer facilitators spend all of their time working specifically on the peer education workshops and tailoring those workshops to meet the needs of students. So all of their staff time is spent going towards direct services. These estimates are also on the conservative end of things because all of the staff members are also expected to spend time supporting the peer education program by facilitating workshops on their own and supporting students who are learning to facilitate workshops, and also spend time working on the resource and reference library by assisting students who might need help with checking out books or encouraging feedback on materials with that.
And while we're lucky to have many resources available for survivors and support people in the Madison community, PAVE is the only organization that provides specific peer-to-peer education on the prevention of sexual assault. Peer education has proven to be the most successful way to deliver violence prevention and empowerment-based survivor support education, and having PAVE services available make it possible to inform students in the most effective way possible.
So we just want to thank you all for taking your time to consider CAVE's application, and we appreciate your support in working to prevent sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking on campus.
Continue to tell us. All right. Are there any questions for the speakers? Representative Williams.
Okay, with the media portion of your direct services, I just want to make sure I've got this straight. Are they mostly answering questions based on, or are they mostly like posting things on the newspaper or forums? Or how, I mean, I read here that it says responding to media questions and coverage in an informed and respectful way. But also, I read that they're talking to students directly. If students have questions under, any student with a media question or concern can get in contact with PACE Communications. So is this more based on students, or do you get what I'm just a little confused with that? Or do you not get what I'm saying?
I'm a little unsure, but I can talk more about it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Our media team, I guess, works in a few different ways to inform the campus. One of the ways that our culture is shaped is through the media, and having a source that can inform this culture and the media in a way that is appropriate and educated on these issues is crucial in working to end sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking. So we approach that in a few different ways. One is responding to requests from student reporters from the newspapers. And also we can provide direction on types of language to be used that are more appropriate than others in reporting on either crimes that happened or just anything relating to sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking. And we also proactively approach media and publish our own content, columns, and other media things through Facebook, Twitter, all of that, to inform the campus in a knowledgeable way that is actively working to prevent sexual violence.
And just to add to that quickly, we found it kind of difficult to quantify the impact of our media direct service. So we don't, but that number does not include the impact of both our original media content and our and others using it as a resource in the media.
Okay.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah. So you're saying you didn't include that in your direct service hours then?
In this chart on the media service wasn't in the sheet we handed out.
Okay.
Media service isn't quantified in number of services because we didn't want to artificially inflate the numbers.
Okay.
Do you have a final question?
Yes. Do you have by any potential a larger breakdown of like what the chair spends total hours on? Like the chair spends like this many hours communicating with different staff and stuff like that. Do you have a larger breakdown than this or no?
This breakdown that is provided here, the total hours towards direct services and the total hours. The hours towards direct services are the hours spent throughout the year for all of the positions except peer education coordinator and peer facilitator. The hours towards direct services are the hours spent on office consultation and meeting outside of our office hours time with students who request that beside our office hours times. And like I mentioned earlier, these are conservative estimates just because that's all that includes. Staff do also spend time working with the peer education program and with our resource and reference library too. But it makes more sense to quantify it in just our office consultation time because that's what is primarily included in these direct services.
Representative Fine.
Thank you guys for getting me. I was just wondering if there's a student that wants to ask help anonymously or wants to contact you anonymously with any issues that they may be having, or just getting advice. Is there a mechanism for that in place for a student to ask you a question anonymously?
I guess it would depend on what sort of information they're looking for. PAVE does not provide any counseling or mental health services or anything like that. So if they were just looking for resources, people are always welcome to check out information we have online. We have essentially everything we do on our website or our library catalog online, and anyone can access that anonymously. As far as attending workshops, that's a bit harder to do because you actually have to be there. But we do everything we can to make sure it's a safe space that people feel comfortable coming to. And we don't actively track or publish any information about students who access our services. Any identifiable information, I should say.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, I do. So for your media service, in terms of speaking to the papers and doing outreach, is that solely for people elected in leadership positions, or if a student wants to comes in at the beginning of the year and wants to get involved and learn how to do media outreach in a in a manner that's positive with your message, is that something that you can teach them?
Yeah, definitely. Our communications coordinator leads a team of volunteers called the communications team, and that group of students learns how to approach media in multiple different ways, and one of those is learning how to write editorials and newspaper articles that are appropriate and informed on the topics of sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, can you just go over how your resource library is very different than other libraries that are offered around campus?
Our library is tailored specifically towards sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking. So it is a very specific set of materials that focus specifically on the issues that it focuses on. Students can check out as many books as they want for extended periods of time, longer than you can through the campus libraries, and it's also an anonymous checkout system. So oftentimes if students are in relationships that are abusive or have been victimized in some other way, they don't want their partner or the other person to know that they're accessing resources, so it's a much safer space than the campus libraries to check out books. And it's also in our office, so it's right there with informed staff members who are also peers and students on campus, so students can come in, check out the resources, and have a discussion with us about what they're thinking or anything like that.
Representative Meyer.
And thanks again for coming, guys. So first of all, would it be possible to get a breakdown of the 71%, I guess, by specific services? Hours, just depending on which one or
I guess, I'm pretty sure what you're
like, I mean, could we get a breakdown, like the media service percentage, the percentage for the library, the percentage for the computer, those percentages, or?
It is difficult to quantify that just because different positions do different things, and the office consultation, like I mentioned earlier, is what's included in the direct services column there, and that is a large percent of what our staff spends time doing, just because students feel more comfortable coming to peers than they do going to professional staff on campus. And the peer education coordinators and peer facilitators really, all they do is work on our workshops, so that's what they spend all of their staff time doing.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yep. So the peer education program, it says that it's available as a class credit or first come first served basis. Can you just speak a little more about that?
So The School of Social Work sponsors the credit portion of that class, and a professor, Tracy Trepper, is the faculty sponsor. And she is the one who does all of the credit producing work, so all of the grading and teaching, all of that. The peer education coordinators, who are paid staff members, are the people who train any student to learn how to facilitate the peer education workshops. So they are similar to each other, but they're distinct services.
Do you have a final question?
Not right now.
Representative Schlitt.
So if I go to your guys' office, do you direct me immediately to the computers, because I know you kind of put some time to explain your computer software, you tell me to go to the computers and fill out a survey, could you explain that a little further?
It would depend on why you were coming into our office. Typically how it works, a student comes into our office and we just engage them in conversation and see what they're looking for. Oftentimes students have either specific needs, like really interested in checking out a library book and I just want to browse what you have. Or I'm really interested in volunteering, tell me more about that. If they're really just looking to talk about these issues, then we just talk. So it depends on what your specific needs would be. The information that we have online is more so students who might not be ready to come in their own healing personal process. They can still find the information without having to directly approach another person, because that's a lot scarier than just sitting on your computer at home.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, I do. So with the money you spend on that then, is it spent annually towards updating the software? Are you guys getting new computers in there? Because there's a portion of your guys' budget dedicated towards that. I'm just curious what that's for.
Point of information.
On point?
Are we discussing the budget?
Not really, but
Is
it's that you can, could ask.
What information, it would be just to determine fiscal responsibility. Would that be appropriate? I'm new,
That's-
so forgive me.
yes, that's okay.
Okay.
Are you talking about the software hardware portion of our budget?
Yeah,
Okay. That's a little bit different from the office consultation services. We don't really, if someone comes in and needs to like look something up, we would be happy to let them use our computers, but they're not really, the computers are there for staff purposes in order for us to be able to get our work done effectively. A lot of our outreach and communication is done by email, and a lot of our records and archives from past years are on there. I'm the finance coordinator, I work a lot on the computer, just doing finance coordinator things that are necessary to keep the pay functioning with the policies of ASM. So, yes, we do have software hardware. We also have Adobe Creative Suite so that we can produce our own publicity materials. But that's the only significant software purchase we have. All of our other resources we also host our website. But other than that, most of that just is going to keeping the equipment usable. So I'm working on a replacement schedule for our computers to use. But
Yeah.
that's the general idea of that budget line.
okay, thank you.
Do you have a final question?
That'll be all.
Representative Bias.
Regarding the peer education coordinator and the peer facilitator's percentage of direct service and direct service hours, I was just wondering, since it says 100% there, are you counting kind of internal weekly meetings? I mean, do they attend internal weekly meetings? And yeah.
They do. What those positions do, the peer education coordinators work to train all of our peer education students, all of the volunteers and students on campus to facilitate the educational workshops that we provide. So during our weekly staff meetings, they often give us updates on how those students are doing, what they need from us to support that program, what different workshops are coming up, what sort of research they're doing for our specialized workshops, that sort of thing.
Do you have a follow-up?
So then for the rest of these positions then, are you counting weekly staff meetings as direct services?
Do you have a final question?
No.
Representative Nygaard.
So I have one question, well, actually one and a follow-up to the question. So the verification programs, leadership development, a lot of somebody that can help work practices. Right, so with that, does that person automatically go and facilitate the workshops, or is it really to the individual?
How it works is students who sign up to become peer education facilitators go through it's a minimum of 15 hours of training, and they are required to facilitate workshops under the supervision of experienced facilitators, so make sure they are conveying correct and informative information. The majority of the peer education direct service is available to any student on campus to request a workshop to learn more about sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking, and how to prevent those through getting consent and intervening as a bystander, that sort of thing.
Do you follow?
So when you say that the purpose of that program is to make more people aware so they're able to go out into the community and facilitate?
I think facilitate isn't the word we use because our facilitators are intensively trained and go through programs with experienced facilitators. I think the purpose of the peer education program, correct me if I'm wrong, is to spread awareness and educate campus community members in order to be good advocates and information sources for people who may need it, or just in the general community, preventing use of harmful rape culture supported language, just being more aware of the culture that surrounds us and perpetuating that as part of this.
Do you have a final question?
And so what percentage of, again, those workshops that are going on are happening from members of the group? So I guess paid staff members or people who are regularly volunteering versus the students that have come in that originally got that training and now are going on.
Paid staff members and volunteers who are trained are the only people who are allowed to facilitate the workshops, but it's over 90% of people who attend the workshops and learn from the workshops are not involved with paid in any way.
Representative Rowland?
Yeah, okay. I don't know if you understood my last question last time, so I'll try to explain it better. Like, when you were calculating on this sheet of how many total hours, like, the chair had, and then how many total hours the total direct services they had, do you have more of a breakdown when you were using to calculate that? Like, let's say you're a finance coordinator, you said, right? Okay, so let's say, like, accounting purposes, and then how many hours were spent on accounting purposes, how many hours were spent on doing peer education and stuff. Do you have any of those in a more breakdown-oriented way?
We don't have that like strict data with you, but I can give you a better idea of how that calculation was made. So, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the calculation for the positions, is based on the time we spend doing office consultation, which is making sure that like having office being open and available to students and as resources for students when they come in. That number is each different position has a different number of budgeted hours per week, and we require that half of those hours plus an additional hour are spent conducting office consultation and holding, just keeping our office open. And so while I may do some like non-consultation related activity, I will be during that time based on my responsibilities as a finance person. The estimate is still conservative because I do spend a lot of time outside of the office doing peer education workshops and other things like that. So the calculation, it's hard for us to quantify how many hours each person spends towards direct services, but these are the ones that we definitely knew counted, so that's what we included in the calculation.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, do you have, not on you, but do you still have like the work for the calculation that you did, and would you be willing to provide that during the next meeting?
Yes, I guess I'm unsure of what's unclear, just because, so for example, I'm the chair, and in my position, I have 20 hours a week that I can work.
Yeah.
So I spend half of those hours plus 1, so 11 hours a week in the office doing office consultation work. And the other hours that are left over than that still might be doing direct services, but it's hard to quantify since that changes week to week depending on what workshops I'm facilitating and how much the library is being used, that sort of thing. So we strictly stuck to our office consultation time since that's the same every single week.
Do you have a final question?
One second. Okay, so you're not, but, okay, let me phrase this how. So the 55% that says I'm chair, for instance, that is all office consultation time.
Yes.
Okay.
Secretary Harris.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like to me like what you guys have done is you set up all your
Can
like
you frame it as a question, please?
is it true? Oh, I sound okay. Is that okay?
That's fine.
My mock trial attorney days. Is it true that you set your schedules up so that you meet the 51% requirement? So, like your direct services, like you said, your direct services are it says you need to have 51%. So you make sure that at least 11 hours a week you are doing direct services.
Yes, we make sure that that is the absolute bare minimum that we are doing, but because of the nature of our positions, we have to do more than that in order to keep PAVE running as an organization and provide those services. So if I only did 11 hours a week, peer education workshops wouldn't get facilitated. So I need to spend more time doing that, but that's something that changes depending on the week and the time of year, all of that sort of stuff. So just to have the very most conservative estimate to make sure we're reaching the bare minimum, the numbers listed here are solely our office consultation time.
Do you have a follow-up?
No.
Okay, Representative Diaz?
Oh.
Representative Vine?
So in terms of your peer education program, are there ways that you outreach to bring people in and train them how to be peer educators, and just can you tell me a little bit about that process?
We do lots of outreach to different areas of campus because we really believe that sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking impact everyone on campus just based on the statistics of how many people are victimized. And so, for example, 1 in 4 women during their time in college will be victims of rape or attempted rape. So statistically, if you know more than 4 women, you know someone who has been affected. So it's really important for us to have everyone know how to support people and know how to proactively end these issues. So we do lots of outreach to make sure different areas of campus know about our services and how students can learn how to become peer education facilitators. We do lots of emailing to advisors and reaching out to other student boards that may or may not seem related to PAVE, just because we believe everyone is related to PAVE. And we really make an effort to reach a wide variety of students just because it is such an important issue.
Do you have a follow-up? Are there any other questions for the speakers? Representative Rowland.
Okay. Again, I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to be a pain. Okay.
Representative Rowland.
Yeah.
If your question is not going to be this, you can ask your question, but it might be better to lobby with the group between now and their
Okay.
decision if it's not clear in this
Okay.
setting. I'm just going to suggest that,
okay,
but you
I'll
can't
just-
ask your question.
I'll just do that then.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the speakers? Okay, seeing none, I have a couple. Could you speak to, so your office consultation can be counted as direct service time if you also offer it upon request. Can you speak to how easily your office consultation can be done upon request for students that can't come during the times that you set?
Yeah, very easily actually. If a student wants to meet with us and it's outside of our office hours time, our office consultation can be done by any staff member, and there are 10 of us. So chances are that out of the 10 of us, someone's head will match up with that student's, and They can physically come into our office anytime that the Student Activity Center is open, but if for some reason they're not available in that large amount of time, we could meet with them outside of our physical office and provide the same services other than, I suppose, checking out a library book or something. We wouldn't have to physically with us, but yes, it's very easy to meet outside of that time.
Great, that our contact information is published on all of our social media websites as well as our website, and it's clear on there that being contacted for requests like that is totally fine.
Sure. Could you also speak to the tailorability of office consultation?
Yeah, it's a incredibly tailorable thing just because it really depends on what the student needs. When students come into our office, they are often looking for specific resources that we can direct them towards or provide them with ourselves. And if we can't, since we are so trained in these issues, we know where to provide them to find what they are looking for. So it really just depends on what they're looking for specifically.
That's all I had. Are there any other questions for the speakers? Representative Rowland.
What's the name of your dog?
His name is Branson.
Okay, they're really good.
Do you have a follow-up?
No.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, you may step down. Thank you for coming. Okay. Okay. Next up, we have Student Leadership Program. Next up, Student Leadership Program. You have 20 minutes to speak. You can start whenever you are ready. Do you guys need some time to set up?
Just a minute or two.
Maybe. If somebody wants
Go
it.
for a 3-minute recess.
Is there a second? All right, seeing no objection, we are recessed for 2 minutes. 3 minutes.
What that minute?
Do we need to email them to South Carolina this weekend?
I thought it was just the responsibility.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay, got it. No. Yeah. Yeah, it was. More solid books return.
Yes.
Okay, that makes better sense. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Doors.
Oh, no, they do. They had a discussion about that in ASM last night, because they lost.
I'm not gonna do it yet.
So, we were talking about like how many, like, remember they said how they So I still updated something, I was like, I don't know, this guy like a call for like 2 hours. Trying to go through all this code. They like access my hard drive. I understand the house thing, so they're not doing Okay, so they're just.
No.
Okay.
They're like, well, we wanna do this, you need to pay $180 for this.
Yeah, I just like to have market price.
I know it was.
Yeah. That one, I don't know. You see my phones, why go make a double? Okay, thank you.
What's
the friend?
Oh, wait. Can't pay. Right. We get paid.
We don't have quorum.
Well, we're just not, you want to take Kelly?
David wants to give a cake.
What about me? What am I? I need paid.
I just
Wait, we're.
I think it's too long.
That's not even muscle or anything, it's just like.
No, like it's like a conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just the same.
Hey, okay, fine. No, it's okay, we can send upstairs, so we don't have quorum. We can wait just a couple minutes, sorry, everybody. Yeah, but we don't have quorum. Yeah, I know.
Whenever I'm awake, I'm somewhere. Really, I was just like, I'm working 8 to 5.
Yeah, we're.
We're just waiting on the credit.
The quorum. Somebody go to get it?
Yeah, but I know it's just.
We thought you guys were waiting on us, so we're good then, okay.
Get away. No, it was the, apparently there's a one bad chord that they distribute upstairs.
Like we have more than these.
No, so, here we go, round of the rescue.
Ron, why is this meeting streaming? Oh my god, it is streaming.
Is it really? What?
So it's catching you right now.
Are we? Oh, look, someone else got me another piece of cake.
I'll eat it.
Oh, that was me.
What?
I'll eat it, okay.
I'll eat it.
Oh, I can have 3 pieces.
I want it.
What?
I want it.
You want this piece?
Yeah. Beef curry is pretty small.
Oh, okay.
Very much more.
Thank you very much.
I said her piece was pretty small, therefore she should have more cake.
Thank you.
What are you arguing about? That's not fair to fight.
I thought you said Richie is small.
Oh.
Well, I am small,
Yeah, no, I know.
Never mind.
and I'm
useless.
Huh?
personally prefer that you call me small though.
Oh my god.
I think I'm gonna cry the entire rest of the meeting.
Alright, we are back in. Side conversation should cease, thank you. Alright, you have 20 minutes, you can begin whenever you are ready. Everyone please give them your full attention.
Alright, thank you guys for having us here tonight. We're at the Student Leadership Program. My name is Troy Hazel, I'm the Financial Coordinator. I'm joined tonight by Margaret Stropes, our Organizational Outreach Grants Coordinator, Katie Shainbeck, our Leadership Events and Training Coordinator, and Kevin Pickett, our Internal Affairs and Development Coordinator. So, SLP was founded in the fall of 1995 on campus here, and since then our mission has been to develop effective and essential leadership skills in students and student groups through comprehensive leadership education and diverse experiences. These are our 4 coordinators that introduce us, and then each coordinator will introduce committees that fall under their branch, so it'll give you a nice idea of our organizational structure. So we start with Margaret.
So I'm the Organizational Outreach Branch Coordinator, and under my branch, I have Organizational Development Consultants Committees, the Students, Consultants, and Speakers Bureau, Leadership through Social Justice, the Bucky's Award Ceremony, and the Off-Campus Leadership Conference.
Thanks again, I'm Kevin, and I'm the Internal Affairs and Development Coordinator. In my committee's follow leadership resources and campus relations. leadership through volunteering, and special events.
As Troy said, my name is Katie. I'm the Leadership Events and Training Coordinator, and my core committees that I work with are the Emerging Leaders Program, Leadership and Communication, Students Advancing in Leadership, and the Big Ten Leadership Network.
So as you can see, my branch is unfortunate to not have any committees directly under it because I actually get to work with all 12 committees. So I deal with the budget and inform them on any money that they may be spending, how much they have, what to do with it, things like that. So the ones that you see in black here are the committees that provide direct services to campus. So those are the ones that we are going to focus on tonight. And I'm going to start off with the first one, Organizational Development Consultants. Sorry, the PowerPoint isn't great right now. You'll get there. So the Organizational Development Consultants is a group of 7 students that staff at the front desk on the 3rd floor of the Red Gym. And what they do there, the largest thing that they do is they register all of the student organizations on campus. So that's over 800 student orgs every single year that they have to register. That includes setting them up with the Wisconsin Involvement Network, or WIN, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. On top of those duties, the Organizational Development Consultants also provide any workshops about WIN, how to add members, how to track membership, how to set the events, things such as those. They also, since they are at the front desk, they're available for any walk-in advising via phone or via email, and then a variety of topics, how to install on campus, how to apply or work towards the leadership certificate on campus, and then they also provide workshops on how to transition leadership through organizations, retain members, and how to receive funding or go for eligibility. There we go.
So next I'll talk about the Students Consultants and Speakers Bureau. So this organization is a committee that designs skill set workshops and delegates members to help facilitate these workshops. They work one-on-one with groups to provide educational workshops and also student leadership workshops which are not already offered. They also handle any workshops that are filtered through that cannot be handled by any other committee. In the past, Student Consultants and Speakers Bureau has had many requests for one of our workshops, True Colors. We should do that demo night. Troy and Kevin did that for you. So that is one that is requested a lot from the Students and Consultants and Speakers Bureau. Next is Leadership Through Social Justice. And Leadership Through Social Justice Committee puts on workshops to focus on improvement of personal leadership skills through understanding and awareness of oppression and privilege around campus and just in everyday life. And examples of this are our identity dialogues workshops, our Big 5 workshops, and 4 corners.
So next, two of our committees, Bucky's Award Ceremony and All Campus Leadership Conference. Both are conference events. So the All Campus Leadership Conference is held every February, which bring in a large national keynote speaker and also provide workshops to students who pick and choose. The Bucky's Award Ceremony is an event that recognizes students and community groups on campus. Such awards being Most Outstanding Senior Award, Dean's Award of Excellence, just for example. So we're not saying those are direct services per se, but these committees join together to provide event planning workshops. So we already are doing these great conferences and events on campus through these 2 large scale events. So we'd like to share that knowledge and how to go about doing that with the rest of the campus as well. So those are possible workshops as well.
Okay, the Learning Leaders Program is a 7-week series. It mainly teaches introductory leadership skills. The model that we go off of is called the social change model, and it consists of 7 C's, as you see up there. And so each week we go off a different C, a different topic, and they build on top of each other. And so any workshop that we requested for ELP is interrelable that we could use one C or we could use multiple C's together depending on what the group is looking for. And we had other requests in the past, including the SAC, LORA, and the Center for Educational Opportunity. Leadership and Communication Committee focuses on putting on a 6 event series consisting of mainly workshops and a couple of speaker events, and the topics that they focus on are leadership in oneself, leadership in the workplace, and leadership in the community. These focus on essential leadership skill of communication. So some examples of these would be nonverbal communication, public speaking, and depending on what the group is looking for, different communications are being combined into workshops, which we can then provide them and provide them the opportunity to practice them in those workshops. Students Advancing in Leadership is a similar setup to the Emerging Leaders Program. It consists of 5 events that go off of the 5 principles of the Student Practices Leadership Inventory. So each week of this series focuses on a different principle. This series differs from the Emerging Leaders Program in that it is a different leadership model, as well as that it's for more experienced leaders or for some leaders that feel they had training or experiences in the past that they want more intense focus on their skills. And again, these workshops can be put on for any group requesting them, including focusing on one principle or multiple principles.
All right, so next we have a breakdown of numbers, which you will find in front of you in that packet. I'm not going to go into too much detail about these, which is not to waste too much time because you do have them on you, but this is for our committee chairs or our committees. This is the amount of time per week that they spend on direct services and non-direct services. So you can see an example of ELP. The weekly series is put on twice per week for an hour and a half, meaning 3 hours. Planning and coordinator meetings, there's a 1 hour coordinator meeting and a 1 hour planning meeting that goes into running those workshops. And then there are the outside requested workshops, which those numbers are both a historical representation and a estimation of what we plan to do these next coming years. So if there's any questions about any of these numbers, we can come back to those or explain those more. I just don't want to dive in too deep right here. So you can see the different ranges here as well as I have these same exact cases in front of you. This one takes the totals from those 3 branches. As you can see at the top, the 32.2 and the 43.5. That's the direct service, and then our total hours per week average. And then added in on the bottom is the coordinator time. So the 4 of us are, we have 20 hours per week of time that's spent in either in the office or putting on these services. So we've done a breakdown for each of us of the amount of time per week. And then as you can see on the bottom, the total per week, 76.2 out of the 123 is 62% direct service. 10%.
So just to go off what Troy was talking about, all these numbers are what we consider bare minimum. We want to be very conservative in the numbers we say, be responsible to this process. But we do expect to go above and beyond these numbers as well, just for your reference. And on the back of your package, you'll see common abbreviations to better clarify what the committees are in those Excel packets. In terms of marketing to our campus, university students are our primary focus. So the way we do that is we go through mass emails in which we send out to each university. We do that twice a year. We work with 3 systems to allow our events and series count as read points. Also, we really work with housing, including the Emerging Leaders Program in on-call, very accessible to freshmen. We also go to the University Housing Resource Fair, in which residential advisors can get our information and really help distribute that to freshmen. Also, we have surveys that we are in the works of putting out, in which we want to really gather how the university values our programming. That way we can even more tailor to them prior to us getting to those specific requests. Also, again, I'm building up with the housing fair to the organization fair, Justice Fair held annually. We also announce our events in classrooms, and that's another way we try to really diversify who we are trying to reach. There's a difference between announcing in Ranger Hall or going to journalism, etc. And lastly, we do hold 10 office hours in my gym weekly, so we're very accessible to come in and communicate that way as well. And lastly, social media. So we have Twitter, we have a Facebook page, we have a website, and we're also on the Wisconsin Involvement Network. So we're very accessible to students no matter which way they would like to communicate with us. Also, we have a phone. So here you can see our website, and it really gives people an idea of the types of things that they can request from us. Again, it's all very tailorable to what they're looking for, as Katie said on hers, as well as the rest of the committees. And this is really how we go about marketing to university students and making them our primary focus. In terms of differentiation from the rest of campus, by carrying our mission statement, we are solely dedicated to developing comprehensive leadership education of all students and student organizations. Other groups on campus focus on group dynamics and organizational cohesiveness, specifically, ones that you may think would be similar. While SLP is the only organization on campus that focuses on individual leadership skills that turn influence and affect group performance. That's all.
Do you open yourself up to questions?
Yes.
Alright. Are there any questions from speakers? Representative Vines?
Thanks again for coming. So just to clarify, you're saying that planning for these events, you're counting that towards your direct service time?
Correct. We believe that it's inherent that you need to have that planning time in order to tailor these workshops and then provide them in the time that's requested.
All right. And so, follow up.
Sorry,
It's
do
okay.
you have a follow-up?
Yes, I do. Just is there a way? Is there somewhere where you break down planning as opposed to actual time implementing these services? Is there a way you can break that down for us?
Yeah, let me just go back to the notes just to give an example. So as I said, like for emerging leaders program up on the top there, if you can see it, otherwise it is in front of you. The weekly series and the actual events are the 3 hours right there up top. The planning and the meeting that goes into that is broken down right below that. So those are separate events.
Did you have a final question?
Yeah. So if I'm a student and I'm not in a student organization or not, working with a student organization, I'm just a student by myself that wants to come with you for some advice about being a student leader on campus. What are the ways that you can serve a student like that?
Well, specifically, I get a lot of emails every day. I handle the email address and oftentimes they'll say, I'm really looking to get involved. I want to be a better leader on campus. How do we go about doing this? While we have our 10 office hours, as I said, for example, this is very busy week for everyone, I'm sure, with the student work fair, ASM kickoff tonight, for example. So I'm planning on meeting someone on Friday night to talk about how they can get involved and how to better develop those skills. So we're very flexible getting to individual students in the team.
Do you have a question? Oh, that was your final question. Representative Schlitt.
Which one of you heads the organizational development consultants? Okay. Could you just kind of explain a bit more to me how that's different from what CFLOC does for students in the band office?
So as part of the organizational development consultants, you do work for CFI and they put in academic 7.5 hours for CFI specifically. But they're also required to be part of SLP and the student leadership program. So any hours that they put in outside of those 7.5 hours are counted towards our direct services.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, I do. Let me see, and then also leadership and communication. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure. So for that, how you described that in the presentation was a bit different from what I read. But from what I read, how is that really different from a resume workshop? That's something you can do in the business school or in any department across campus. Resume workshops, not going to use the people can do those.
Well, some of the workshops that we've done in the past have been resume interview resources, but the majority of what LIC of leadership and communication does is
develop skills and practice that individuals can take personally to develop their own leadership skills. So to develop their own communication and speaking skills. So, and that relates directly back to their leadership. So while sometimes we may supplement a pairing for, say, leadership in the workplace, we may supplement that with a speaker about interview skills or resume building. The majority of what leadership and communication does is provide those workshops that give the individual those direct skills.
Do you have a final question?
No, that's it.
Are there any other questions for the speakers? Representative Rowland?
Okay. For the SAIL and the Emerging Leaders programs, if a student asked that they only wanted to attend one workshop out of the 7, and would that be okay? Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, so
Okay.
all of the workshops that are put on by Students Advancing Leadership and the Emerging Leaders Program are open to anyone on campus. There's not a requirement that they have to attend a certain number. If they would like to attend, say, 6 of the 7 Emerging Leaders Program workshops, then they would get a certificate of completion at the end, but there is no requirement that they have to attend a certain number. They could just come and attend the collaboration workshop if they feel like that is something they can benefit from. That's no problem.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, for the SAIL, you said it was for more experienced leaders and stuff that wanted to learn more. Would you accept people that aren't experienced leaders but still want to take that to challenge
Yes,
themselves?
yes, it's up to the discretion of the individual, based on, once they learn about what the student, leadership practice inventory is and what they can benefit from that, it's up to their discretion whether they would like to participate or not. We don't exclude any students, that's just kind of how we market it, that's what's the purpose of that option.
Do you have a final question?
Yeah, could you go more into detail about what you do in the planning and coordinating meetings?
So what we do in coordinating meetings for those workshops is we set objectives for what we would like the participants to get out of the meetings. We walk through the agendas, and so we go step by step through the workshop. What are the activities we're doing, who is doing those activities, what do we need to focus on, what problems could be coming up, what problems could occur in those workshops that we will need to address, and just talking through so that we are prepared to put those on and then discussing what next steps they need to do to prepare to make sure that every facilitator for those workshops is prepared to put those on.
Building on what Troy said earlier, what Pete just said, it's really important that we have these meeting times because if I get an email for a request for a low bed, it's very difficult to get over something and make sure it's a quality room service without this time spent making sure it's specific to that group and getting the best workshop possible.
Representative Becker?
Hi, thank you for coming. So I have a couple of questions. The first one is related to the 7-week series, the 5-week series workshops. And I'm sure you know in our criteria, you're allowed to have series events to also have your professional at one point. Can those happen at any time of the year? Or how does that kind of work? You set the 7 weeks?
Yes, so for the series, there are set dates and times that are consistent. We give them the same day, same time. But then also, any of those topics, any of those workshops can be presented in themselves to the group based on, but that can be like tailored to, let's say, they're having a certain issue with having a shared vision, having a collaboration issue among their group, then we can figure out what is their problem, what do we need to help them work through that, how can we facilitate that discussion among them, or we could take components from the different principles and the different topics and combine those together and combine those activities together to get the output that they are desiring.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, I do. So would you say, and this is just kind of how I'm understanding it, that there are like 7 individual services that kind of just combined and form a series of events?
No, it's based off of the social change model, and so the social change model is made up of 7 C's, 7 values, and they all start with the letter C, so we call them the 7 C's. And so there's individual, community, and group leadership aspects, and so each week we focus on one of those values, but then they build off of each other, but they are all tied together. It's like a circle. They all connect and build on top of each other.
But I think we were trying to say is could each one be requested separately and that is true.
Yes.
Do you have a final question? Are there any other questions for the speakers? Okay, I had a couple. For the, and again, we're talking about the 7-week and 5-week series programs. Could you provide those in their entirety upon request? So if you schedule your 7 weeks, if a group needed that to have a different 7 weeks, but wanted all 7 of those Cs, could you do that?
Yes, we could.
Okay. I think that's actually the one question I had. The problem is confusing. So, are there any other questions to the speakers? Seeing none, thank you. You may step down. Your decision will be on Monday. I forgot to say that's okay, but I assume you know. Your decision will be on Monday at 6:30, and you can feel free to contact anyone on SFC between now and then. Representative Rowland?
Can I ask one more question?
Do you mind if Representative Rowland asks another question?
Okay, with the office hours, did you add those into the amount you have on your sheet, or did you not?
Yes.
Okay, I just make sure.
Do you have a follow-up?
No.
Okay, thank you. You may step down.
Thank you.
Okay. So, eligibility decisions, we have none. Budget hearings, we have none. Budget decisions, we have none. Budget appeals, we have none. New business, we have none. Old business, we have none. Special orders, we have none. Report of the chair. Okay. I don't have a ton to report. I don't know that I really have anything to report. Good job with your questions. These are very thoughtful. If you guys have any questions between now and Monday, please let me know. I'll be around. I sold my ticket to the football game, so, and then I bought another one for my friend from Troy over there. But I'll be around all weekend, so you guys can, contact me if you have questions, on eligibility criteria and such. We will have only decisions on Monday, so I said we were gonna be doing the two and one style, so 2 decisions, 2 hearings, because we had a couple of those groups that had applied drop out. The schedule changed a little bit. I sent it out again, but we have just the 2 decisions on Monday, and then Thursday we will have 2 more hearings. The following Monday we will have 2 hearings, or 2 decisions and a hearing. So we'll start the 2 and 1, so not just coming Monday, but the Monday after. So next Thursday we will have CWC and METRA, if you guys want to start preparing for those, so you can be looking through those eligibility applications. They're all on your flash drive, but like I said, feel free to contact me. Definitely reach out to the groups if you guys have more questions. If you go home tonight, you're thinking, shoot, I forgot to ask that, contact the groups and ask them. I'm sure that they will be happy to answer your questions. That's all I've got. Are there any questions for me? Awesome. Report of the Vice Chair, Joe is not here. I'm sure that he would like me to mention his letter to the editor that ran Advisor Carroll today. Yeah, it's probably still there. But I know it got, alright. I know it got shared a lot around for social media, so you guys should make sure you look at that. One thing that I did want to note, movies at Memorial Union Cells are not paid for via GSS, or not GSS type fees, but they're not paid for through the budget that we approved. So that was one thing to note from Joe's letter that was not necessarily correct. He knows that, so we cleared that up. But yeah, make sure you check out Joe's letter. I don't think he would have anything else to report, although we did have the first student transportation board meeting. Someone to yield to her. You know you weren't there, never mind, I'm not going to yield to anybody. We had the first student transportation board meeting Tuesday. I don't know anything that happened there, so I can't really report on it, but you can ask Joe if you're really interested in going before Monday. Do you have a question for the Vice Chair? Great. ASM Student Council report. I'm going to yield to the Student Council members to discuss that next meeting. So I know Representative Meyer wanted to start, but I'll get to you next. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Tragically, the Constitution referendum failed, so as of now, that will not be going to ballot as of now, so. Richie?
Would you like to speak to that, Representative Rowan?
Sure. Let's see, what we did last night. Stay away from student council if you can, as a fair warning to everyone on this committee. What we did last night is we didn't approve the Pledge of Allegiance to be said in anything. Along with that, we almost violated open meetings laws by one vote. And what else? There was one other thing.
Yes.
I got called Megan.
Representative Meyer got called me names.
Also, I really appreciate that we are following Robert's rules much better than student council, and I give you guys all credit, especially people who are new representatives here that don't know Robert's rules are doing much better than people that have been on it for much longer.
Good job with the
Thank you for
Robert.
pronouncing my name correctly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Also, everyone always forgets about the Dean Search and Screen Committee. So, Dean Search and Screen Committee, the two.
Chancellor?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no, I just didn't know there was another one.
Chancellor's.
Yeah, two students appointed to the Chancellor Search and Screen Committee. I can only remember one name right now, so I'm not gonna say names because I don't remember both of them. I know, we probably all remember the same one.
Yeah.
It's a position, I know.
But yeah, so two students were appointed to the Chancellor Search and Screen as of last night, so Cody Austinson and someone else.
The Casey Evans.
So two very qualified students have been appointed to help choose the next chancellor, so that's great. The other thing that I will note, I know Richie noted that they almost violated open meetings laws. In case any of you are not aware, you all at any time have the ability to overrule the chair. I just want to make sure that that's on the table, that you guys know you can do that you can overrule me at any time. I won't, throw things at you. You can do that if it's necessary. But that's what he is alluding to last night, is the mechanism for voting was a bit of an issue. But we got it done and we voted, and the Constitution will not go to a referendum. Regardless of the outcome, I will say that I think that a lot of the amendments that were put forward were some really great compromises, and it was nice to see that kind of compromise happen, albeit it did not pass at the end. But myself and Finance Chair Kidd put forth some amendments on the financial side of things that people responded really well to, so hopefully we can make some changes that kind of get us to some of that kind of collaboration. I also am going to say that I hope we'll be putting together some sort of a working group to look at the eligibility criteria earlier this year. Last year we weren't able to get to it until right at the end of the year, and then it just was not enough time. I can't speak to whether or not those will get changed or how they will get changed, but I do want, it is a goal for myself and for the vice chair to have 19th session of SFC take a hard look at those criteria. So by the end of the year, whether they change or not, I want to be able to say that we really took a good look at them. So if you guys have feedback on those or want to get involved with working on those, please let me or Vice Chair Van den Aven know. Anything else from student council that anyone wants to report?
Anything that was really, well, there's so many things, so I guess.
Okay.
Just read just listen to the audio minutes and have fun.
Okay.
If people are frustrated with the Constitution not going to referendum, I would recommend that everyone and their friends email those who voted against sending it to referendum, and tell them that you think it should go to the students, because they were all under the impression that the students either weren't interested or weren't knowledgeable enough to know what I'm saying. So
We're gonna, so if you have strong feelings either way, feel free to contact your student council representative, so we'll say that. Another thing, if any of you guys are interested in getting involved with the campus safety campaign, I know that they are meeting at 5:30 in the fishbowl next Wednesday, or for the student council meeting. So if you guys are interested in getting involved with that, that's totally your prerogative to do that. You guys can be involved in other ASM stuff. You don't have to only do SFC. So if you guys want to be involved in something like that, you can go for it. I think that's all we've got for student council. Future meetings, Monday, September 17th at 6:30 p.m. Do not be late. We will be deciding on PAVE and SLP eligibility. If you have questions for me or for them between now and Monday, please let me know. Are there any motions to adjourn? All right. Please take your closing roll.
Walker.
Here.
Crandall. Here. Diaz. Here. Ellers. Harris. Lorraine.
Here.